Hey everybody, back for another exciting government lesson. Hope you're doing really well, and let's jump in to today, congressional records. What does the Congress have to do according to the Constitution? And we're going to get into some rules and procedures based on the U.S. Constitution. This is like one of the most in-depth chapters of the book. So you might think like, dude, are we going to be on the Constitution forever? It is government class. Basically everything we do as a country comes back to whether or not it's outlined in the Constitution or that we have the right to do it. So kind of stick with me. Also realize we jumped through 1, 2, 3 chapters in about 2 videos, so I bought us time to really get in depth here. This is kind of the meat and potatoes, or the vegetarian impossible burger and potatoes. See, friendly to vegans and vegetarians. My wife's vegetarian. Why is this important? I don't know. Let's jump into knowing our role. Do we get to see The Rock today? Is this something that's actually in here? Is The Rock in our textbook?
I'll tell you what I think. It doesn't matter what you think.
Uh-oh. That's The Rock, man.
And what you do, Michael Cole, is you sit your ass down at that announcer booth, you take off your headset, and you don't say a word. And I quote, you know your damn role, and shut your damn mouth.
How many of you think that, like, seeing that wrestling performance, that would be a major movie star? Some of you were like, really? That guy? But then others of you are like, yeah, he's got the charisma, the charm. He has no lines that are written down anywhere. And he's a tremendously electrifying entertainer. Anyway, he also is a kind of a political guy, too. I wouldn't be surprised if one day he starts a political career somewhere. All right, let's get to the lesson. Whenever I do things like that, I know that 7 of you are super excited, 18 of you are bored, and the rest are just waiting for the lesson to go on. The Constitution says that each house, the Senate, this is good for us to recap too. Congress is 2 branches. The House of Representatives, 435 people. The Senate, 100. All right. Each house must keep a journal, just like you, that has all the proceedings that go on. All right. So they can't just sit there and sleep all day. Wake up. Just kidding. No one's going to sleep in my class, right? I hope not.
Why do you say things that you know will hurt me?
There are sometimes secret sessions or closed door sessions of the House and Senate. Sometimes it's to discuss impeachment deliberations. That's the last time that it happened. So right before the impeachment trial for President Trump, there were some closed sessions. They keep these sessions private. Sometimes issues of national security. They don't want published anything that might tip off other nations about what we're doing strategically. But both houses have done this periodically over time. Since 1929, it's happened about a dozen times. Sometimes, as you can see here, in 1943, it's about reports from the war fronts. And since the Congress always publishes their journals, they don't want the Germans to know what we're doing, right? That kind of a thing, or what our anti-missile program's doing, or how much money we're spending on defense in 1960s. That's during Vietnam. So yeah, just some ideas of why that might be done. In Section 6 of Article 1, the salaries of all of these important figures are laid out. And there have been a few changes over time. Like if you're in Congress, you make $174,000 a year. So in the comments section, do you think that's a lot of money? Too much money for a senator? Not enough money? And why? And to talk about some reasons why that it might be perceived as high, you don't want senators going around taking money from lobby agencies, oil, energy sectors, fossil fuel industries, or any big businesses from foreign countries because you're not making enough money and thinking that people need to supplement their income. That's part of the idea. The Treasury of the U.S. will pay both houses a salary. Also, members can't be arrested in chambers unless they submit a treason or a felonious case of violation. And they can't be questioned for things they say in chambers, too. So a lot of protections for our lawmakers. Also, if you're president, you make a salary of $400,000. Trying to give credit where credit is due, President Trump declined his salary because he was already independently wealthy. But ironically, you can make more money once you've served your term as president and you're out of office. This is an article from Business Insider that says that after serving, presidents are paid a pension of over $200,000 a year. And to add that, you can make thousands of dollars per speaking engagement. That was something that came up with Senator Clinton when she was running for president 4 years ago. that she had taken a lot of money from big banks like Goldman Sachs and others for speaking appearances because she was a very popular speaker. She wasn't even the president. You can also get things like book deals, and you can also earn a lot more than you were while in office by being a consultant or a important representative. No member of either house or any government position is supposed to be taking payments or getting privileges, especially from foreign agencies. Why do you think that's important? I have another assignment for you, so I changed the assignment. You don't have to write that down, but it kind of raises some good questions. If you have a comment on that, put it in the chat box. We can talk about that once we finish this lecture. We're going to bypass Dwight for now. We're going to bypass that video for now, too. If you want to see them, you can let me know in the comment section. Just want to make sure I give enough time to do what I'm going to ask you to do. I really do try to be sincerely concerned and thoughtful about your time in class to make sure you have enough time to work. I'm not trying to add anything to your homework. Just want to make sure we're effective, efficient in our class time. The last time a veto was overridden was in 1998. I believe that slide was supposed to be for last class. And it was basically the president didn't want to spend more on the military, and Congress overrode him. We spend a lot on our military, by the way, as a side note. The United States spends 36% of its spending on the military. That's more than almost the rest of the world combined, or at least the major countries of the world combined. Cool. That's a letter about that particular issue, which isn't going to come up on your test. And another thing I want to talk about today is a rider. A rider, kind of like a motorcycle rider, is an additional piece of a bill or a law before it gets voted on. Let's pretend that like you could put a rider on the homework assignments I give. So I assign you 20 vocabulary terms, and then at the last minute before I say, this is an official assignment, you are allowed to say, supplementary to this, we only have to do one vocabulary word and we'll be done. And if I don't read what's on the document, we vote on it, we pass my homework assignment. Wow, there's a lot of things that can change without knowing it. Riders are often used to sneak through legislative changes that are unpopular or probably wouldn't pass on their own if they were debated. Here are some infamous riders that I find interesting. A rider in the House Interior and Environment Appropriation Bill permanently prevented the EPA from limiting pollution from livestock production. So that was a huge exemption for cows and chickens. That would be very beneficial if you were in agriculture. A rider in the House Interior, Section 417, prevented the EPA from requiring the reporting of greenhouse gas emissions from manure. And on and on. A lot of times these are things that don't have anything to do with the bill themselves. And a lot of times these riders get put into really complex, lengthy, long documents. So it's happened under just about every president. When there's a stimulus package or a huge spending bill, people will throw in some stuff at the end because they know the president and Congress want to pass something quickly. So they'll throw in something maybe unpopular at the end because they need to get this bill through so quickly they don't have time to debate it anymore. Interesting stuff. So you start with an idea. Like, you got an idea in class right now for a bill? Cool. You get a senator to sponsor it and write it for you. You could get a House of Representative to write it, like McNerney in Contra Costa County. And he could take it and introduce it on the floor. They could agree, go yes or no on it. If it's approved, it goes over to the Senate for approval. If it's approved, it goes to the president's desk and he could sign it or veto it. So it's got to go through both. You can start a law here and get it approved by the Senate and try to get it through the House, or you can start it in the House and get it to the Senate. Right now, the Senate is controlled, at the time of recording, the Senate is controlled by Republicans. The House is controlled by Democrats. So some things like, I'm thinking of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and her Green New Deal. They can pass it in the House of Representatives because they have the votes. They have the majority of people in there. But when they send it to the Senate and don't have the majority, they know that it's likely to get removed there. And the reverse might also be true. If there's an attempt to fund perhaps border wall funding, or I'm just trying to think of something else, like a reduction in government oversights, Then it's likely to start in the Senate, introduced by Republican senators, get it passed there, and then try to get it over to the House and find enough supporters to cross the aisle and get it across to the president, who would like to sign something like that. And President Trump has signed a lot of rollbacks and regulations. And it's something he said he was going to do from the start. We're almost done for the day. Lastly, Congress has the power. Again, when I say Congress, I want you to think House of Representatives 435 and Senators 100. I want you to think of those numbers over and over. So when it's test day and just generally in life, you understand Congress are the lawmakers. They make the laws. They have the power to raise taxes, raise money for defense. They have the power to borrow money, the only ones who can borrow money from foreign countries. And they're the only ones who can make trade deals with foreign nations, states, or native tribes. They can also be the ones to make laws about immigration. They make laws about making money, printing money, standard weights and measures, whether we're on a gold standard or not. Feel free to write questions. They have the power to punish counterfeiting, and they have the power to establish post offices and postal routes. They have a lot of power. They also can do patent, copyright court, federal courts, and international laws as well. Cool. I'm going to give you a fun little option here. You can either do the Brentwood City Council assignment, where you go to the Brentwood City Council's website and write about 2 or 3 things that Brentwood's doing, which is on the next slide. Or you can find this video, The Counterfeiter, 30 for 30 shorts, and give a 1-page summary of what law was broken, who investigated, and how important is it that this kind of crime gets investigated. So get a choice. I love choices. You can do this counterfeiter video, which take a picture of it now or write it down. Or find out what's going on in your city. Be a more educated student and civilian. What are 2 issues that Brentwood's talking about? You go to brentwood.ca.gov or just Google City Council meeting agendas, Brentwood, California. What are 2 things they're talking about? What disagreements might there be about those issues? And what would you like to see happen with these issues that are happening? If you do the Brentwood City Council, it needs to be half a page. If you do the movie option, it needs to be 1 full page. Cool. I'd like to see people do both. Great. And if there are any questions, we'll stop there. Ask them now. Let's discuss and move forward. Great job today, everybody.